What is going on, everybody? Bobby Five back here with my man Eric Sheetsaber. We are doing the Draftkings lineup show that we do every day. I am coming from a night out at the Laker game last night, a fantastic night with the Draftkings people. It was awesome. It was better than just renting a suite. They rented out the lounge area and had it gated off for a private party, and a bunch of guys had won the trip over from overseas, and they'd come in and they were having a great time. It was all these Australian and New Zealand guys that they won literally to come to this game and have this trip out in LA for a few days. So it was a really nice time. DraftKings, got to thank them big time for taking me and my daughter. We had a fantastic time. Unfortunately, guys brought me a few too many shots last night, so I'm a little bit feeling the effects this morning. It was a big celebration of sort of meeting up with old friends at these things. Anyway, felt like a live final. I just wanted to mention a couple things real quick before the show started. I really do like that. I really did like the event, and I really loved the whole thing. I was a little surprised being at Staples. It's the first game I've been to since Kobe passed. I was a little surprised that, first of all, they took everything down around the stadium, which I didn't like. I liked the outpouring of support. It felt a little too soon to me that they just took everything out, so that was kind of weird. My daughter was hoping to see it. Maybe I was a little biased in that sense and wasn't there. Then there was really nothing said about him pregame. And it sort of felt strange to have the national, it felt sort of subdued at the beginning of the game. And there wasn't really like a lot of energy like I thought there would be, to be honest with you. But it was a spectacular game to watch. And as a Westbrook fan, I really enjoyed it. Also, I want to just touch on that real quick, but I want to touch on that I've been losing a lot lately. I have not had a good day. I've had one good day in the last 9. And in that, I've actually come across a lot of good plays each day, but I haven't somehow just put the right pieces together. And it's rough when you're on a losing streak. So if I don't want to have lack of enthusiasm, this is my job. We're going to fight. We're poker guys, Sheets and I. So we understand it's process over results, but it's rough going through this. And I know it doesn't sound like much, maybe 10 days or whatever, but it feels like, you feel like you're never going to win again at these times. The same thing when you're winning, you feel like you're never going to lose again. So I'm ready to turn it around tonight. Sheets, what are we going to do to turn it around? What are your first thoughts on the slate? And how'd you end up yesterday?
Okay, so I don't want to turn this into a three-hour session, but since you brought it up, I'm going to tell you what I'm pissed about last night that was tilting from your DraftKings experience. So I'm sitting there at home, and I come from poker, and I come from online. I came from a time where things were going great, and everybody was making money and everything was terrific. And then over a period of time, things got a little harder. And the next thing you know, like legislation came down that basically ruined me, ruined the industry. And my wife, of all people, who doesn't even follow DFS, doesn't follow anything, all she follows is, hey, Eric, what are you doing, right? She sends me a text with a link to saying that there was a ruling brought down in New York that, it's rendering not DraftKings, but DFS in general kind of in flux a little bit in New York. And I just figured that the whole world knew about it. And I texted to Bobby, can you believe this shit? And Bobby says, I'm in the DraftKings people. They don't even know what you're talking about. So that kind of tilted me a little bit. Maybe they're just kind of used to it. But with respect, I'm sure that'll work itself out one way or the other pretty soon. But with the respect to what you said, Bobby, I mean, you've obviously been doing this for a long time, but I think you're nuts. I mean, I think that the amount of lineups you play and the, to even gauge anything on 9 days is statistically just so ridiculous. But then again, like I said, Bobby's a lot more competitive than I am, and he takes, losing a little harder than I do, so I'm going to factor that in a little bit. But, I just kind of look at results based on, okay, so like take last night, for example. So I had 2 really main ideas going into last night. I only played like 10 lineups, really. One idea was that I said I thought Vooch was going to be a really good play, and I thought that the reason why I thought he was going to be about 1/3 the ownership of a very chalky Whiteside and perhaps a chalky Embiid. And I was 100% right that he was about 1/3, 1/4 the ownership of Whiteside. And you know what? The results were what they were. Whiteside scored 60,000 points, and Vooch only scored 44 or whatever the hell he scored. So I was kind of happy with that. You know what I mean? I'm happy with not the results of the game, you know what I mean? But I was happy with the fact that I planned, and that's exactly what happened. And the other big thing that we came out with yesterday was that Westbrook was going to be like a really, really good play, and he was going to be really, really low owned. Now, again, I have to be fair. Forget the fact that he smashed. Okay, he smashed, which obviously helps. But our process dictated that we thought he was going to be really low owned, and he was 7%. You know what I mean? So when you get that leverage, sometimes you just kind of you throw the chips out there, and they just kind of just fall in certain ways. You're not in control of everything. All you're in control of is putting yourself in a position where if the ball bounces the right way and within the certain probabilities, then you're going to have done the right thing. I think that you say, I know it's process over whatever, but it is process over results, because results are very, very fragile. And if you start getting too into the fact that I lost 5 days or 6 days in a row, and then you start, doing the thing that people do when they lose, like either they become too aggressive or worse, too chalky, So, I mean, you really do just kind of look at things. Well, the way I look at them is really after the slate starts, before I know any results, I'm like, all right, so is this what I wanted? And if it is, then I did great. And if I felt that I was getting like a good differentiating lineups and they all ended up chalky, I'm like, you know what, I screwed up. So that's just the way I just kind of look at it. But
no, absolutely, it's fair enough, and that's the way I should. But I also think that there is something. The competitive part of me, I think, does. It can also make me better in a lot of ways, but at the same time, in DFS, you have to be careful about overthinking things, and then you'll inevitably end up going with groupthink mentality is the natural thing that I think people do when they're on losing streaks. Yeah. And it's something that I'm absolutely not going to do. No. In general, I don't mind just losing yesterday because I loved my favorite plays. There was a lot of great plays on the slate last night. I'm going to lose in general when Whiteside's going to be chalky. That's going to happen because I don't play chalky Whitesides. But
when he gets there.
Yeah, but Giannis, it was an incredible play also and smashed like crazy. And I had Giannis with Embiid and Harris, and nobody played Harris and Embiid either. And Embiid missed 20 shots. He missed 20 shots. Like that's the most he's missed in his career in any game. It's the most I've ever seen a center miss. So if that happens, I'm gonna lose. Whatever. Let's move on to today. Let's get into it. I think we're gonna have we have a good slate. We've got a lot of weird news, so it's just gonna be important to maybe go a little bit off the groupthink mentality because a lot of people are gonna make a lot of assumptions on players today, and I think it's a little bit dangerous. So let's see where we can go.
I will say this: there's a lot of whatever site you subscribe to, whatever. There's a lot of projections out there. There's a lot of pretty bold minutes projections and bold whatever. So there is room for variance in a lot of what's going on today. I'll just say that. Yeah. So we could start. I mean, I'm not even going to start with a slate overview today because we could say Westbrook's out, so Harden's going to be a really is going to pop, and there's going to be some good value from a lot of these games. But I don't think there's one main thing that drives the slate. So I think on this day, probably going game by game is going to be a decent idea.
Yeah, I think that's what we got to do.
All right, so let's start with Dallas. And when I first looked at the slate, by the way, there were several teams that had kind of clusters of value on them. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get one from one team, two from another, two. And today there was several teams that I just found kind of clusters of value. And the first one was actually Dallas, right? So Dallas, I have, 3 guys that popped as good value. Nothing really, new, but even though 8,800 seems kind of bizarre for Kristaps, I mean, he's showing to be a pretty good value on here. I mean, they're playing Washington. I can certainly see why. And then there's Brunson and Hardaway Jr. And my thoughts on Hardaway Jr. is the same as I always feel, is that if you can get him really, really low owned, I would try it. If he gets ownership, I would just fade him completely. It's just that's the kind of guy he is for me. Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to go a little bit different, you could go Delon Wright, or there's always Steph Curry. And then the one guy who's not projecting really well yet, but I just don't see how he doesn't. So here's a guy that I'll ask you about because you play more than I do is Kleber.
Yeah, I'm shocked at where his minutes projections are. I don't know where they get this guy's minutes projections. He's literally penciled in every day at 26 minutes when he's playing 30 to 35, and I have no idea why. I can't explain it to you.
Yeah, so on the Washington side, let's say I was going to play a couple of Dallas guys. Beal's rough, man, at 10-1. I have to say, but every time I say that, he scores 70 fantasy points. I'm certainly not going to argue with something with Dallas with Beal, but doesn't look to be that great of a play in light of other options today. I'll just say that. The guy who's popping, who I've been kind of waiting to play again, is Rui Hachimura
Yeah.
at 4,500. I mean, if he's really going to be back until maybe pushing 30 minutes or something like that, I certainly going to include him in my list, in my player pool, if I'm going to play a bunch of lineups. That's for sure. So for me, it'd be Beal if he's probably going to make a couple lineups. He just is.
He's going to be so low owned. It's going to be interesting to at least take a shot.
Yeah, and Rui is the other guy I would take from this team. I heard a lot of buzz back and forth about Ish Smith. I don't even know what that's all about. I don't think I'm.
Yeah, I don't even understand why his minutes projection is where it is. Like, because now you've got Shabazz there too. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's confusing to me. I really don't understand it. How is he going to play 31? Shabazz play 24. Gary Payton Jr. play 14. And I mean, I don't understand how these minutes are going to, how this projection is running. I don't buy it. So I'm not going to touch any of the Ish. I do love I think Rui is definitely like a strong play here, and the minutes are coming back. I believe in it. I mean, well, coming back, he played one game, but he played 26 minutes in it. I think you'll see an increase on that. I think this guy's a really talented player. And I think he's got a lot of offensive weapons, and, the pace should be great in this game. Obviously, Washington makes the pace great in every game, but Dallas is not exactly going to be the stingiest defense tonight. So on the Washington side, I certainly like Rui, and I'm okay with taking a shot or two on Beal. I don't think I'm going to make it a priority, and I'm okay with Davis Bertans. I think Bertans is like the sneaky one. I mean, they're both, he and Rui are going to be super low owned, but I think Bertans is actually like a much, much better play here than people think he is. And I think the perception of Rui being back, maybe not people not playing Bertans, I actually don't think it hurts him. And I think it, in some ways, I don't want to say it helps him, but I don't think it really makes a difference to him, I guess, is where I'm at. So I like those guys. But I think I'm going to prioritize definitely the most would be Rui. And that's still not going to be in most of my lineups, but he'll be in definitely some of my lineups. I love Kristaps. I don't really, at first glance, I think that he's an obvious, easy play. Just you plug him in. Like, it's too cheap, actually, for him. Like, he should be the 995 to 10K guy. Like, he's going to put up 50 again. I mean, in this matchup, he might put up 60 or 70. So I'm all about Kristaps, especially at what's going to be lower ownership because of the options on the slate. So I'm very into that, and I want to pick on Washington. Hardaway, I'm interested. Kleber, I can get behind a little bit, but I even with the matchup and the minutes that I think he's going to be higher, I don't feel great about playing him. That's just where I'm at on this slate. Maybe I'll change my mind if I can't find certain value later, but I think we can.
And you know what's interesting to me? Again, maybe it's not that interesting. But with so many of these guys on DraftKings now starting to lose a little of their multi-position eligibility, Bradley Beal still they let you play him at small forward. It's
but that's because he actually has been playing small forward. Okay. He's been playing small forward a lot this year because especially when Rui was out and stuff. I mean, Rui's sort of a 4 anyway, but they've been playing Bertans at the 4 and they're playing smaller. But they, Troy Brown is the other 3 that they play, but you can call him a 2. And Gary Payton, they play at the 2 sometimes. Ish Smith, even they'll run a little bit of Ish and Napier together. So I understand why Beal's a 3.
So what did they do? They traded McRae for Napier. Is that what happened?
They McRae for Napier, yeah.
Okay.
I think that it was just like salary things or something because it's not really a needle mover. I think Napier is the better player in my opinion, but it doesn't make a difference to me.
Okay. So all right. So let's move on then. So Memphis against Philly. So from the Memphis side, I want to talk about this DeAnthony Melton thing. So the only guy who's projecting to be a really good play on Memphis, again, call me a broken record, just no one ever looks like a good play on Memphis, is Melton. And we're trying to figure it out kind of pre-show about why he's popping so much. And I guess it's because they traded Jay Crowder. So maybe he'll play some minutes at the 3 or something like that at 3,700. I guess that's what it is. But he's
they'll play him. Yeah, they'll play them at the 2, but then they'll use Brooks at the 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's popping as the only value here. I'll just say that. We'll have to figure out what to do with him. What's really just kind of interesting is on the Philly side because this is this is almost like a daily fantasy insult. Some of these salaries, I think. Now again, it could be fair for good reason, but I mean, I know that Philly's been less than stellar, and however, making Embiid 8,500 is kind of gruesome, and Simmons has been just doing great. He's like the only guy on Philly that's been doing great, like every game pretty much. And he's only 8K, and this is a pretty good paced matchup, I think. And even Harris down at 6,200. I mean, I think all three of those look just awesome. I mean, if you want to know the truth, now they're going to be. They've just got to be really chalky. I mean, I just can't imagine them not being. So, but I mean, they all look like really good plays. How about that?
They do, and I like everyone on in this game. It's a game that the prices make you want to stack it, and there's a lot of value in it. So here's what I actually think. Like the Memphis side, as hard as it is to figure out and all that, I'm actually interested in trying to figure it out a little bit tonight. I think this game stays close. And I think that there is a shot that, like, I do think I'll probably be above the – I really liked Anthony Melton as a player, and he's played well for them. So if we think he's going to play minutes, yeah, I think we give him a shot. Like, I just don't want to play him if he starts getting like the 35 to 40% range ownership-wise, I don't think that I'm going to go there. Because I think there's other options on the same team. I think I could just pivot over and get the same – I have more secure minutes, probably a lower floor. Well – a lower floor in the minutes, but I could play Kyle Anderson, at 3,800 and at zero ownership, who's going to play 28 minutes. I could play, we might see a boost up for Jaren Jackson and without Crowder, just a little bit. I mean, it's not like he's a high usage guy, but these guys are cheap. I mean, they're really, really cheap. So everybody, I mean, even down to Brandon Clark on a different side, I probably would have more interest, but I think he's even slightly in play. My favorites, though, are Melton and Dylan Brooks right now. And then you're going to call me crazy for this one, but we've done it before.
Let's go.
Josh Jackson.
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready. I only didn't mention it because I knew you were going to have to. You were going to. And I didn't even ask you beforehand.
I didn't even want to mention it to start. I wanted to close with him for my Memphis takes.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. I mean, let's give this guy a shot, man. He's 3K. If he gets 20 minutes, he can put up 35. I mean, he can do when he's on the court and there's any range of outcomes. He could have 0. He could have 50. He can do it in 20 minutes. He could play 35 minutes. He could play 45 minutes. It's actually all the ranges of outcomes are possible. The problem is this Memphis team is good and they're playing to win. So I don't know how much run they'll actually give him, but I definitely am going to take some shots. I wouldn't be on brand if I wasn't. And on the Philly side, part of the reason I like some of these Memphis guys that I want to take shots on Ja and Jackson and those guys, Brooks and all that, I like to play at least one of Harris, Simmons, Embiid, and Horford. And I think, oddly enough, I think Horford's the safest play. I worry about Embiid and back-to-backs, but I don't think at 8,500 I just don't think I can just avoid it. I'm actually trying to look at Embiid's back-to-backs this season. So real quickly, I should have done this pre-show, but he actually played more minutes in a game at Miami than he did the previous night in Orlando that was on the road, and he had a big game there.
He's coming home after that bad game. He's going to play. He's going to kill people.
Yeah. I mean, he's an interesting dude. He if he wants to, he will. And that's, I don't know. Last night was the first – I was sort of thrown last night because it's the first bad game he's ever had against Brook Lopez. Literally, he's just absolutely massacred Brook Lopez every time they've played each other. I think –
we decided he wanted to be Kevin Durant last night.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's hard not to yeah, he was taking all the threes. I mean, I don't know how you don't, have interest in Embiid and Harris. It's a great matchup for these guys. This is a good spot. And then I really like Horford too. So you don't want to play all these guys together. But you can play two of them together.
Let's talk about that. So what's the good group? What's the good? You know what I mean?
I always tend to favor Harris and Simmons or Harris Embiid or Harris Horford. Harris being the guy who can fill up the stat sheet, both scoring and then also get the rebounds. But the problem is it takes away a little bit from Embiid's rebounds. So you could argue that. But I think you play Harris with one of those guys is my favorite. And then Simmons and Horford would make some sense to me. Simmons and Embiid. I think is actually doable on this slate.
Okay.
But I don't know that I would get to it. I think I would probably lean Harris with one of those two.
Huh.
It's doable because the matchup is good and the price is right. So they like them both getting 50 here is definitely I think in a very high range of outcomes. I mean, the chances of them crushing I would put as two of the highest on the slate just because of what incredible like value they are for their price. Like they're just way too cheap, honestly. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's it's really strange because I don't really like to play Tobias Harris all that much, but I was about to say that all three of those, I'm not as big of a Horford guy in this matchup as you are, but I think all three of those first guys can get 60, and I think Tobias can get 60 at 6,200. I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, it's possible. Crazier things have happened. I mean, he certainly could, especially if somehow some of the other guys, like Embiid's the most likely to be limited just because of his nature of injuries
Right.
and stuff. So I think that like Simmons and all that would be popular, but I think people know that about Simmons, about Embiid, and it's going to keep the ownership lower than it should be. Like usually you'd see Embiid at 8,500, and it would be fire him up everywhere, but I don't think that's going to be the case tonight.
Hey, but are these guys going to get minutes and take minutes away from Harris? Are they going to play like Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks and guys like that?
No, they'll not. They actually just got the news in, which I'm looking at just right now as you asked that question. Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson officially will not be available to his debut.
All right, there you go.
There we go. And so that, and by the way, that just, I mean, is there any fringe piece I might be missing on Philly? Like, I don't like the price.
Yeah. You can go back to the guy from yesterday that kind of played a little bit. You can go back to Thibault if you want.
Yeah, Thibault. I'm not as crazy about Shake Milton's price, but I think Thibault is reasonable. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. It's a really good. Actually, it's a really good Thibault matchup. So maybe Thibault as a really unowned guy, because all the projections currently have Glenn Robinson and Burks projected, but they're not going to play. So we'll wait. Maybe we'll take a quick look back at that and just see what the projections at the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Atlanta, Boston. What's just making my eyes pop out right now with the two big Boston values. So let's start with Atlanta, I guess. But so Trae Young, 10-2. He's just always has big tournament winning upside. And I'm just kind of going to compare him to Beal, I suppose, because they're both the same price and they both are, I guess, similar. I mean, look, Beal has a better matchup for sure, but Trae is kind of a better, slightly better fantasy player, I think. So I guess I regard them to kind of the same. I might have some of them, but they're not. Neither of them are going to be priorities. Other Atlanta guys, Herter maybe, Dedmon. I don't know. Maybe Collins. Just nothing really spectacular for me. For me, with these Boston guys. So Kemba projecting at 30 minutes that's his max is 30 minutes. And, don't kid yourself. Boston could blow Atlanta out of this game. They certainly can. But the two main values here are going to be Tatum and Cantor. And I mean, one place I'm looking at just insane values. I presume Cantor's got to be pretty heavy chalk. And I would imagine Tatum has to be also, but last time I thought that Tatum was 6%, so what do I know? So I like Tatum and Cantor by far the best of anybody.
So we just got news in, by the way, that Josh Richardson is expected to play now. So that's going to kill a little bit of my love for Philly. This is that game at the end when the projections update and stuff. I want to just point out real quick that I think this is a spot where you could consider fading Tatum. I think he's going to end up really high owned, and I understand it, but I feel like it's a big slate. I feel like there's a lot of range. I mean, he should crush here. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I don't feel great about it, but I feel like he so often ends up in the mid 40s here. That is good, but that's not like what we want to win a tournament. So I'm sort of just okay on him. I prefer the higher price Porzingis to Tatum, personally. And, I'm thinking from a GPP only standpoint, of course, but like that I just think is a better play. And he's 700 more, but I would just rather go that way. And I don't see myself getting to all those guys. And then also we talked about the Philly guys who are, you got Embiid at 8,500. I think I would be more inclined to even do that over Tatum, personally.
So making the case for a Tatum fade, I'll throw a couple of things out there. First of all, as I said, they're projecting him for 35, 36 minutes, and that's just I really think the upside. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't think he has any upside from that, and I think he's just got nothing but downside from the minutes. So that's one thing. Second thing is Kemba, even playing those 30 minutes, does take, in my opinion, a little bit away from some of that Tatum usage that we kind of been speaking about the last couple of weeks where Kemba has been out. So you could make a case that maybe Tatum is a little bit over-projected as far as that goes. That would be my two, and obviously just natural, just high ownership in general could always lead me to fade somebody. But Hayward and Brown out, that's rough business, man. That's a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of. And Tice out also just makes more rebounds available. So it's going to be tough for me to fade him to any real great degree.
So my favorite play, I like Cantor. I prefer. I want to just say though, with Cantor, like, I don't think I want to be above the field on him at 50% if he's going to be 50% owned, which I don't know if he ends up there. But I do want to be somewhere near the field, probably. The guy who I do want to be ahead of the field on in this game, pretty heavy. There's two guys who I like a lot in this game. I really like Grant Williams. I think at 3,800, he's one of the guys who's standing out to me as a value play, and I really like Marcus Smart. So Marcus Smart is obviously a hard guy to predict because his game flow is tricky. The odd part is he's been somewhat consistent lately. He has the games where he tends to go off are usually when someone's really trying to take it at him, which is what's going to happen tonight because he's going to be matched up a good point, especially if they're nursing Kemba with 30 minutes. He's going to end up with a lot of time on Trey. So I see, first of all, you could argue that's going to make him tired. I think that's the matchup. It happened when he played against Booker and he put up that monster game. He shot 22 threes in that game. He scored 68 fantasy points against Phoenix because Booker was just going at him. And that's the way he plays. He's a tough defender, takes it personally if anybody can score on him. So he's going to come back at you hard. And they're limited on bodies right now. I think Marcus Smart is the way to go in this game. And while the ownership has some projection now, my guess is as the day goes on, he gets lower and lower and dropped further and further down the totem pole.
Yeah. He's always low owned, and he always projects badly, and you always play him, and he usually does really, really well. So I can't argue with that. I want to throw two names out there again, just to kind of, just because all these guys are out, right? I've never heard of Romeo Langford.
Yeah, Romeo Langford, that's their draft pick. Really good. Terrible.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing a guy with projected for 25 to 28 minutes at 3K. And then the other guy who I always worry about getting minutes when I play like Tice, for example, is like Semi Ojeleye at 3K. Is he 3K? Yeah. So those would be the two guys that they probably also get the blowout run if that occurs. So I don't know. I wonder if you have any opinions on them at all. I don't know.
I just think playing Romeo Langford until he shows us anything is going to be like lighting money on fire. He played 28 minutes. If he was going to play 28 minutes again, I would definitely play him. But I don't think he's not going to with Kemba there. And he scored like 5 fantasy points or something in 28 minutes. It's actually hard to be that unproductive. I'm pretty sure if I got in an NBA game, I could get you a few rebounds and a couple assists if I played 28 minutes. All I have to do is just be on the court. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm not as interested.
How many minutes can Cantor really play?
Cantor can play more minutes. No team ever lets him do it, but I think you could see upside of up to 30. The problem I have with Cantor in this matchup and why I like Grant Williams and why I might end up maybe later in the day turning on to a little bit of a Cantor fade, it's just really hard to do because if he does what we expect him to do, you're kind of going to need him. But I can make the argument that Grant Williams might be that's the pivot right there. Like they can Atlanta, you can match Grant Williams up with John Collins if they play John Collins at center. But even the other day when we had the situation with Cantor, I thought he'd get extra run in there because they were playing Orlando against Vooch, and they played some Grant Williams against him. That's what they did. They had to do it, so they did. I think Grant Williams is the guy who I'm looking at as being a potentially really solid value at 3,800. And if we don't get the Cantor game, if I don't have Cantor in lineups, that's probably where I'll use Grant Williams. Now you can use them together, but I don't think it's optimal.
What do you think of the Atlanta guys?
I don't have a whole lot of interest, to be honest with you. We just saw this matchup. John Collins played really well, but I still think at 8,400 is too much. I think on 7,500 on FanDuel is much more reasonable. Trae Young, I just think like if there was a bad matchup for him, this is it to me.
This is Marcus Smart all over him, right?
Smart all over him. The weird part is what worries me about Trae in this matchup is that he was efficient and effective last time they played Boston, and he put up 49 fantasy points. That's worrisome to me.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's going to get 5x. I don't think he's going to get 7. So I don't, I would rather play Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal crushes more often than Trae Young does here. But it makes me nervous to say that because in general, it's the thing about playing Trae Young at low ownership is always tempting. So even though I slander him now, you might see him in 10% of my lineups just because I just don't see how you don't take shots on any of these guys when they don't, like when you're mass multi-entering, when they have this upside and this usage that is just the same thing with Harden. Like I don't want to, Harden's the guy, actually we'll get into it later, but I'm thinking about fading today. So if I'm going to fade Harden, I'm going to certainly want to take some shots on some of these other high usage guys. And obviously Trae Young can smash in any spot. But I prefer the Boston side of this. It's a shame because I really like the Boston guys, so I'd like to make it into a stack, but I really can't find anything on the Atlanta side that just intrigues me enough.
Well, as I was saying, that's what I'm finding is that I see these teams have certain clusters of value without such efficient run backs, so it's going to be interesting. I have one theory question again, and I keep forgetting to get into this. So, like you mentioned when you were talking about Cantor that, I'm probably going to be with the field or something like that. I hear some people, the real 150 maxers sometimes talk about, if you're locking. Yeah, either fading or locking, but never going either with the field or never going like just a little under the field or something. Like what? I never really did the math on it. It's kind of a shame because that's where my skill set is. And I've always been meaning to do that. What is kind of the theory behind that, and where do you kind of fall on
that? My personal take on that is that it's stupid. Okay. It's actually illogical to me why you would. Like, what is the reason? Nobody's making you, yes, you have to, or no, you don't have to. So why do you have to make that decision? Why can't you have 2/3 of somebody or half of somebody or a third of somebody? What is that thinking? What if that's the line? I've had it happen where I've had guys in 1 or 2 lineups out of my 75 lineups, and that lineup wins $100,000. So
Jimmy Graham.
Unfortunately, Jimmy Graham, sadly enough. But yeah, it's actually that's an argument for why they should. Had I locked in the other tight ends who were the same price. Jimmy Graham doesn't make it, and I win $1 million. But at the same time, I was trying to pair someone with Aaron Rodgers, so there's a whole thing about that. Anyway, I don't like that way of thinking. I understand it. If I'm playing 10 lineups, I tend to think that way, or 5. But if I'm playing 100 lineups or 75 lineups, I don't see why I have to be told I have to lock someone in or fade them. That's just stupid.
I actually don't understand it at all. So I don't know if to say stupid. I'm literally ignorant. I don't understand it at all.
All right. Well, I'm going to say one more thing about this because I actually take issue with it for people in the industry. I think it's I think it's a thing people say to sound cool. Like, oh yeah, you play him or fade him, and they think that's the right thing to do. It's sort of like the cool thing to say. I don't like it. It's garbage to me. If people do it, that's fine. I understand it. I understand if someone wants to do it and it works for them. That's great. That's great if you want to lock somebody in or not play them at all. But I don't think you don't have to make that choice. So why are you putting yourself in that narrow of a box?
I will throw this out there too as well. And again, we can talk about this forever, but if you play 150 lineups and you play 5 of them with Enes Kanter, I will say this, that the 5 lineups that have Enes Kanter, they don't know about those under 145 lineups. You know what I mean? Like yeah. They have no idea what else is being played. You know what I mean? Like each lineup should, in theory, unless there's duplication or whatever, be kind of looked at on its own. And then but after that, then you're into portfolio management levels where you want to play the chalky guys with less chalky guys. But just kind of throw that kind of thesis out there to you that 150 lineups are 150 individual lineups that to fade, like I said, to fade all just because, like you said, it just kind of sounds like a cool thing to do. I have not been given the math behind that. So
there is no math behind
I don't get it at all.
I'm telling you right now, there is no math behind it. It is just illogical. Sheets, you understand this. Like, this is what drives me crazy about people. They actually talk about it as if there's some sort of math. There's nothing like that. Why would you put yourself in a box when you don't have to? Anytime you limit yourself in your terms of decision making, which is all we have in what we're doing, you're actually hurting yourself. That's it.
All right. So, and I guess that's also something that people do when they're starting to lose is just rely on like euphemisms and just cool sounding things. You know what I mean? Like, all right. So,
when you lock someone in, when you love the play, that's when you lock them in. If you absolutely love the play and you don't see any comparable guy, that's when you lock someone in my opinion.
Yeah. So speaking of a game where I'm not going to lock anybody in, so Toronto, Indiana, I will say this, that there are a lot of these games I have like clusters of value on one side and nothing on the other side. What makes this game a little bit scary to fade is that there's a couple of okay plays on both sides. Nothing that's really amazing, but they're just a couple of decent ones. So I'm just going to throw it out there. And it's nothing really sexy, but like from the Indiana side, you could take a shot at Oladipo at 4,900. Brogdon and Sabonis. If you want, you can even play Turner, right? So the normal guys. It's funny now I'm saying Oladipo is kind of a normal guy. He'll get 50 one day, right? And then
soon.
Yeah, maybe today against the tough matchup, right? And then on the Toronto, it'll be the three normal. I don't think that Lowry's one of my guys today. It would be either Van Vliet, Siakam, or Ibaka. So I wouldn't get to any of those guys as kind of one-offs. But I could make an argument for doing some business in this game. I mean, it is a close spread, and the guys I mentioned all look decent. So where on the other games you could play, real good values from one side and have to kind of, body enlist the other side. This one, at least you're getting decent plays from both teams. So this is why I didn't spend like 30 seconds and say I was going to forget this game. I did want to just mention that I think all those guys I mentioned do look okay.
Yeah, I think that this is a incredible game to target.
Wow.
So first of all, these teams just played and they put up 237 combined points, yet the projected total is 217 in this game, or 218. Why that is, I'm not going to be able to help you with that one because that makes no sense to me. As I'm getting in more into sports betting, this will definitely be a game that I bet the over on tonight. And people are just unaware that Toronto's playing fast. Now, unfortunately, Toronto's playing faster, especially at home. So it does worry me a little bit. And actually, Oladipo, I could see slowing some pace down in some ways. I know it sounds weird, like counterintuitive, but it's possible. I mostly, though, just think I'm trying to talk myself out of it. I will be overweight, and I don't know how heavy overweight, but I will be overweight on every player who's in play in this game. And that includes going down to Miles Turner at 4.6. I'm going to be way high on Victor Oladipo until I don't care. This is the way you win tournaments. You keep playing the great plays and then these guys are going to smash. I'm going to play half of my lineups probably with Oladipo tonight.
Wow.
I mean, as an early look, I can get a huge edge on the field by doing that. Even though I'm not technically locking him in, he's going to play, if he's playing 25 plus minutes, 28 minutes, whatever it is, I just think he's going to smash here. You look at the smash percentages on certain sites and things like that. I think they're pretty good in general, actually. I think Oladipo is way underrated in this. I think he smashes like half the time here. I really do. I think that he's getting his legs back. He's been way off. He's been missing shots, but he's still been aggressive, taking shots, 5 for 14, 4 for 17, 2 for 14, 2 for 8. Those are the 4 games back. 20, 22, 23, then 25. Now, a couple days off. You come back, I think we're looking at 28 possibly. It's weird because we have his minutes projected at 27 because he had a limit of 28 the other day. I think the 28 minutes is realistic. I think he's safe with upside. I really love this play.
I'm gonna say something else. So the other day, this game was earlier. I think it was the first game of a slate with. I remember this. It had a lot of really good plays. It really, really did. And usually, when that first game goes off, I didn't have anybody from this game or whatever. And then it was like, 20 minutes in, I went to look, and obviously whoever's in first place is the guy that has all these guys, right? Because no other game started, right? So I went and I looked at whoever's, and what I noticed was every single player from this game was like, when I say like less than 2%, they really were less than 2%. I mean, it was ridiculous. Well, ridiculous because there's a lot of good plays. The point is that I mean, you want to win, like you can get this thing going, and which there's going to be no ownership by any of these guys at all because let's face it, there are other better plays. But if you get this thing going, that's the way to win 150 max. With $4 in entries. It's like,
yeah, let's go with this one because I mean, I'm telling you, I like plays so far down the line in this game. It actually is weird. Like I know, like I think, I mean, even with the healthy bodies back and the minutes being a little bit sporadic and him being terrible, like Anunoby is an unusually interesting play at 3,900 just because he's 3,900. He's my far-reaching guy. I don't think I'm going to get to too much to bonus on DraftKings, but I do think on FanDuel at 8-1, he's still a terrific value.
Well, if you're going to play stack at the table, you got to play this dude. You got to play Davis. This guy's great.
Terrence Davis?
Yeah. I mean, he's played the last two games. He was, I remember 2 games ago, he was ridiculous. He like broke the entire slate and it was a short slate too. And he played 25, 28 minutes. I mean, if you're going to stack this game, I'm totally playing this guy.
All right. Well, let's get a little Terrence Davis action. I can get behind it. I certainly want exposure to this game, so I'm going to rank my favorite plays in this game because I don't know even if you necessarily have to stack, but I like a lot of 1v1 stuff, and I like a lot of 2v2. I think Pascal Siakam, this price has got to be a joke, right? Like, this is a guy who's going to put up 50 here, I think, as often as he puts up 40. That's pretty much how I feel. And I think he puts up 40 pretty much all the time. I don't think you almost ever see him in the 30s in this matchup. In any matchup. As long as the game's not a blowout, he's going to be playing 39 million minutes, and he's going to put up 40 to 50 fantasy points, in my opinion. Maybe with upside, or let's just say even 40 to 50 to be jet. Even his projection is at 40. I'm looking at 3 different sites right now. He's at 40 on all of them. So that makes him a good play at 7,500, and I think he's got a ton of upside there. I also like Fred VanVleet at 6,500. I think it's too cheap. I think he's worth speculating on. I like Serge Ibaka. I think 6,300 is finally reasonable. We don't have to just play him on FanDuel anymore. We can play him on DraftKings. Had a beautiful game for me the other day against Indy with 44. Gonna have to play a lot of minutes against those bigs. So I like him. I want to get some exposure to Brogdon, probably 15 to 20% Brogdon. Like him at this price, just no one's gonna play him. And as long as no one's playing guys like Brogdon, Lowry, and TJ Warren, who are all gonna play a ton of minutes, and especially in Lowry's case, have a good usage rate, and Brogdon's too. And they're cheap enough to where I think you could play them together. Like, that's what I like about this. Like, you can play Oladipo later in the season. We'll never think you can play Oladipo in the same lineups as Brogdon and Sabonis or something. But like on FanDuel today, that's exactly what I intend to do. It doesn't hurt enough from each other because the prices are so reasonable. Because you get that incredible value. You're getting a stud at 4,900, even if he's not going to be the full stud. He's not, like, his usual minutes are going to be 34. So he's only getting 6 less minutes than his normal 28, and he's going to average. I mean, Oladipo's getting 30 or more. I'm into it. That's where I'm going. I just really like this whole spot. So in order, Oladipo number 1, then Siakam, then VanVleet. Actually, I might want to change the VanVleet one to Ibaka. VanVleet, Ibaka, right about the same. Then just beneath them, a little bit of Brogdon, Warren, Lowry. And the reason I can get away with a little bit of them is because they're going to be so incredibly low owned that you don't need to get much to be well ahead of the field. And like you said, you throw in a Terrence Davis and Anunoby, and then the sneaky one. He's been terrible, but he hasn't been terrible 4,600 terrible to where he still can't crush this price. And I'm just telling you, like, I'm going to keep playing these guys who are going to crush at some point, and nothing that I expected Oladipo to do is going to take away from Miles Turner at 4,600. So I am just going to play Miles Turner and take some shots at 4,600.
All right. On the one hand, it feels like kind of like not on this slate type game, but Hey,
but that's what it was the other day too.
Yep.
And it,
Yep.
I mean, look at the numbers they put up the other day. Like, you don't have to play all of them together. Just get the right. If you have to mix in a bunch of combinations to try and get the right combination. Because if you got it right the other day, you were sitting very like lovely. I mean, you just couldn't play Oladipo. You had to play Brogdon. That night he was great because even though he didn't put up a monster game, it was enough for the point guard spot on FanDuel that night. And he put up 39. I mean, it wasn't like he had a bad game. I would take 40 from him tonight. Lowry, you know what I mean? Like Lowry puts up 62 in this same matchup the other day and is going to be 2% owned. Like, let's go, man. Let's play. Let's try to find the right combination. Get 2 or 3 of these guys in most lineups. I'll set a rule where I have a minimum of 1 player from this game, probably 2. That's the way I'm looking at this slate. I know it's weird, but it's the way I like it.
I like it. Okay. Next game with a good kind of pockets of value here. It's interesting because Detroit, Oklahoma City. So Drummond got traded. And Derrick Rose is still out. So I'm also presuming that Markieff Morris remains out also. So interestingly, it's 100. They have like 102, right, implied total. So on the one hand, how great can these guys be? But they're pretty freaking cheap still. So let's talk about this. So Christian Wood, boy, they priced him up a little bit, but maybe 6K is still cheap. I mean, he projects to be at okay value. He's one guy. Then you can go to John Henson. You try that at 3,500. These are just kind of the logical guys. Now that there's no Drummond, and then the guards are still. I mean, they're getting all these minutes. I mean, Reggie Jackson and Bruce Brown Jr. They even though they priced both. Reggie Jackson, they priced him up. I mean, he's still going to get 32 minutes of point guard minutes. The matchup isn't great, but he certainly projects to be okay. And then Bruce Brown. So I think all 4 of those guys are just kind of in play. You could talk to me about Siku if you want, but he's be the next guy. And I got no problem with any of them. You want to know the truth. And unfortunately, boy, Steven Adams is 5,100 now. Crap.
Yeah, but Miles Turner's 46.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I almost would rather. I guess not. I was going to almost rather play Nerlens Noel at 4,300. I don't know.
Crazy how the whole.
I don't know. It's kind of nuts.
I have to say, I'm kind of happy for Noel to have found a place in the league finally. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're a good team. He deserves to have a role. He's always been a better player than he's been given credit for because he's a little bit eccentric. I actually, my ex-girlfriend's best friend dated him when he was a rookie, which is bizarre because she was like 35 and he was 18.
I don't know. If there's going to be a low total game that I'm going to go after, I much prefer the one we just talked about.
Yeah, this is I think there's pockets of value on Detroit. I just don't think maybe you throw Steven Adams into one lineup, but I don't really see Danilo is a great price, but I'm not going to play him. All of Chris Paul and Shea are really well priced, very good plays. I'm going to just play the blowout angle and hope that that's what happens because I don't want to – I have to, look, I just talked about a bunch of guys that I love. How can I keep playing everybody? So for me, it's going to be, the deaning of Bruce Brown, Siku, maybe going a little heavier on Langston Galloway. I think he's like the interesting, completely unowned one. He's been getting the minutes, and he's actually been really good lately for them. Even in a blowout should get run. Actually, he's the kind of guy who could even bring them back from a blowout or whatever. People would say that he doesn't have a ceiling that you want in tournaments. I don't agree with that, especially with the situation they have now and the usage needing to be spread out a little bit. Reggie Jackson's not going to – I don't want to keep betting on Reggie Jackson taking 24 shots, although I will point out he's taken 18 or more the last 18, 16, and 24 the last 3 games. So he's probably actually in play, but I'm not going to play him. I'm going to stick to just the value in this game. And then I'm going to have to throw Christian Wood into 1 or 2 lineups. I know that what's interesting about that trade that they made, they just really obviously want to get rid of Drummond, but they love Christian Wood. There were a ton of teams interested in Christian Wood, and I think they're going to want to feature him. So this price, while it seems excessive, it might end up being something we look back at and go, oh, we were getting a bargain for Christian Wood, who's now 8,000.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah. And then, so I think we can move on to much better games.
All right. So, oh man. Houston at Phoenix.
Short-handed Houston at Phoenix. Jesus.
What's that?
Short-handed Houston these days is just It's
No
like one of
Westbrook.
those you want to try and fade, but like, how do you do it? You know?
No Westbrook and Harden coming off a terrible game. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. James Harden looks like a really strong play.
Yes.
Okay. So other guys from
Great,
Houston.
great analysis there, Sheets.
Yeah. This is hashtag analysis, hashtag math. Westbrook is out, and it's three ball city for Houston for the rest of the season. Plus just penetration, you know what I mean, with no pick and roll the rest of the season also. So yeah, he's gonna get 100, right? I mean, I certainly would not doubt that. So Harden is gonna, if you play 150 lineups and you go zero Harden, I will applaud you and never do that. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I mean, either fade or go all in, either fade or whatever. Like, I think there's certainly nothing wrong with going like a percentage of Harden. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think to lock him in or to go zero. I think that's just kind of asking for it. Anyway, other guys from Houston, Covington, Gordon. I still think that they're going to try to figure this out. So I do think that there's going to be a little variance to some of this stuff, but Covington, he certainly is going to be playing minutes. They're going to need him for defense. They're going to need him for rebounds. They're going to need him for everything. So I think his minutes are, pretty freaking secure from now until the end of time, if you want to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play Austin Rivers, do I? I don't know. I would probably go with Harden, maybe some Gordon, maybe some Covington. I don't know if I want to go with these other guys. I don't think I want to go to 5,500 Tucker, although maybe that's stupid to not do that. Boy, oh boy.
No, I don't know that it's necessarily like stupid not to do it. I mean, I watched very closely this game last night for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously being there and everything, but I really, I told you this pre-show, I was sort of blown away by how easy it was to tell, even in pregame warmups, that it was going to be a rest day. And I'm telling you, I don't know how much Harden partied the night before, but he did something, because he certainly looked like he didn't have any interest in being particularly out there. I've never seen a worse warm-up routine in my life, and I've seen Harden play before live plenty of times, and it was weird watching a guy just miss that many shots. But I fully expect him to explode tonight. Do you need him on this slate? I don't think so. That's my personal take. I'm going to be well below the field. I'll probably have half the field, if that even. I think the smartest way to play tonight is to try and find other ways to go. And you don't need to find other guys in the same price range. You can just balance it out and find the right values where you need it. The guys I will play from Houston tonight will mostly be Gordon and Covington. I don't think I'm going to play Tucker, but I certainly get it. Like, somebody has to rebound for this team, and without Westbrook, you'd think it has to be Tucker. Oh, man, it's going to be tough.
Could be Covington.
Maybe can make up for some of that. So I just like Covington better as a player, but but PJ Tucker at 55 is probably a little bit too much, but I think he's certainly can play over on FanDuel at 45. I just don't think I can do it over here on DraftKings.
Yeah, so on Phoenix, I have a couple of comments. First of all, Booker's just a tremendous play here.
Yeah.
Secondly, as we discussed pre-show, what's going to happen with Houston is pretty much all year. It's going to be, they're going to have a big edge offensively against teams that have these bigs. They just are, and they're going to be, they're going to have to struggle defensively. But you can't have everything. You can't stop the guards, the forwards, and the centers. It just doesn't work that way. And I think they're just going to be giving up points to these decent bigs for the rest of the season, and they could still win a lot of games doing it. But
yeah.
I think that Aiden is in a position to really just have a huge game.
Totally agree.
The other guy who I think it's kind of his type of game, I think it's an Oubre type of game. I think if you get in a 3-point shooting contest, he loves shooting threes, and he also likes to attack too. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a Rubio type game. I know that you wait for Rubio to smash. I don't think this is the game for him. But here's the guy I want to bring up, and you brought him up the other day, and I didn't play him, and I don't know if you played him or not, but Mikal Bridges plays like 1 billion minutes a game.
Yeah.
Like, he plays 1 billion minutes a game. He played, I don't know, was this overtime? He played 42 minutes? I don't even know what this is. But
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was either. And he had 37 fantasy points the day before, and he was very active. He got, rebounds, assists, 4 steals a couple of games ago. I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily his game, but crap, at 4,900 playing 40 freaking minutes is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I just throw it out there one because you brought him up last time and I didn't play him and I was really pissed at myself. So obviously this game is just a tremendous game from a fantasy perspective. And you could play, you could play Harden if you want. You play Harden and Booker. You could probably get away with playing Harden, Booker, and Ayton if you want to do that. Or Harden and Booker and Oubre, or Harden and Oubre. Or you could certainly do it, and you could certainly fit him in with other value there is out there. So,
yeah. The part of my issue with not liking more from Houston, which I should, and this is where I will play Harden. This game makes a lot of sense to stack to me, and I agree with everything except for the Rubio part. Like, I think I'm telling you, this is a great situation. The only thing that worries me is that I wonder what Houston's pace is going to be exactly without Westbrook in this new situation. I think it's going to be a little bit slower, a little more hard and ISO, so it might not be quite as quick. I was, as maybe the projections say, this is a game I would actually flirt with the under on. But Rubio definitely is an interesting one. But I love the Ayton call. I think Ayton is. I watched that game last night, and it felt like it just felt like Anthony Davis could have just laid up and had a layup basically every play. It felt like, and I just don't love the price on Ayton, but I feel like I have to sacrifice it for the matchup. So, in level of interest, it'd be Booker number 1, and then I have Ayton number 2, and then Rubio and Oubre. But
let me ask you a question: Who do you like more? Ayton or Embiid?
So I like Embiid better. It's a good question.
I don't know.
I think I like Embiid slightly better. Wow, that's going to be a tough one. Is there a way? Let's think about this for a second. Is there any way that DeAndre Ayton doesn't play as many minutes tonight? I mean, honestly, I think that's really close, man.
Yep.
Factoring in ownership, I think you'd have to give the edge to Ayton. But if you just took a raw play, I think you'd maybe give the slight edge to. But it's not that big.
You don't think you don't think Ayton's going to be popular?
No.
Oh well, that's the end of that.
Even with the numbers he's putting up, I see people go. There's a lot of play. Like that's where I'm finding myself today. Is a lot the 7 to 80 to high 8K range, and that's why I'm I can avoid the Hardens for the most part, but I want to play guys like Ayton, and I want to play. I like Oubre, I like Rubio, I like all these guys, but we can only play so many players, so we'll get to it at the end of the show. But I really like all those guys, and it actually does make me want to look a little bit harder at Houston and see if I can find some plays I like more than just Gordon.
Okay. Okay, so Jimmy Butler's out?
Yep. Good
grief.
Yep.
All right, so we got Kendrick Nunn. Okay, let's list all these guys are good plays, right? So.
By the way, how about Derek Jones Jr. the other night? Jeez.
Yep.
That was a monster.
Yeah, and they put price him up $1,000 now, right?
Yeah.
So Nunn looks to be, I don't know, Nunn and Dragic to me look to be the two best as far as the guards go. Then I guess
let me ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
Kendrick Nunn or Enes Kanter?
I don't know.
Close, right?
They're both going to be really chalky, right?
Yeah, but I think Nunn is going to be about half as chalky. Personally.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my personal take.
That is a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Duncan Robinson, I just he's fine, I suppose. He'll hit his first 3 threes and make you wish that you had all of them, and then by the end of the night he'll have he'll have 25 or something like that. I don't care. Olynyk 3,300, maybe. Oh my goodness. Not to mention Bam. He's another 8,200.
Yeah.
What's his ownership?
It's not going to be high. It's
going
to be very low.
Oh, this could be a MME night, man. I think I need all these guys.
Yeah, I'm starting.
I think I'm going to need some Bam here.
I
don't know if I'll be able to construct 10 lineups. I don't know if I can do it.
I have all these strong takes on players. The problem is I've got 30 of them.
Yeah. Really Who do you like? Okay, so what do you like? Let's try to be useful. So who do you like more between Nunn and Dragic?
I like them. Right now I have them programmed in at the exact same ownership, and it will certainly be above the field.
Okay.
I think that, ultimate ceiling Dragic. I like them both. I think it's Dragic I think it's Dragic, honestly. Like, it's actually really, really, really close. I don't know which one. Maybe you give the edge to Nunn because he'll probably play more minutes, but it's really right there for both of them.
Are the Memphis guys active today?
Which guys?
Crowder and Solomon Hill.
They're not in the thing. I don't know if they're active. They're not in the play. So that's going to depend on a lot, obviously. If they're in, that'll change things a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I still think that you're going to want Nunn and Dragic, or one of the two. And I like Bam as well. And Duncan Robinson is fine, but I don't think that it's a spot where
you could keep Olynyk, I guess.
Let
me see.
Olynyk, if he plays 20 plus minutes, he's fine. I don't feel like I need him, but I feel like he's definitely. Yeah, he's got upside.
So, on the Sacramento side, you can just play De'Aaron Fox, man. He's balling. Yeah. You can totally play De'Aaron Fox in this game. I don't think I'm going to go back to not on this slate. I just think I'm going to find better plays, but on other slates, again, I've been taking shots at Buddy Hield coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm going to do it today. The next guy I would have, and I would maybe be Bielitsa, but I think I'll probably just end up with Fox in this game.
I have interest in Bogdanovich and Hield. I'm not sure where they both will end up for me, but I definitely have interest in both of them. And I really like I really like this price for Fox. It just feels like stealing a little bit. Just gonna have to weigh it against some of the other plays that I like, and because I don't think he'll have any ownership. And while Miami's a good defensive team, some of it changes with Jimmy Butler out.
Sure.
So I'll give it a little bit of a boost to that. But that's pretty much it for me. I think you could argue for Bielitsa. I'm just not gonna find. I don't think I'm gonna find him myself with any of them. Or Holmes.
Just to note, Holmes is back. Has he been back?
Holmes, I think he was back for one game, right? I think it's no, he didn't play. He didn't end up playing that game. So
I'm not ready to play him.
Yeah, I still think that you can consider, but I just don't think there's any reason to really get that creative. I just think you play the Hield upside, and then you throw in, Bogdanovich. I actually feel like is a fairly safe play that's going to get no ownership. So I'm going to take a shot with him.
Okay, and then if you didn't like any of those games, then you could play Damian Lillard. So we have Portland against Utah, and you got Lillard coming off of a game. Rates to be pretty good, and not great, but rates to be pretty good at zero ownership, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't really see zero. Whiteside is, kind of criminal at 7,700, even though we talked about not really liking him as chalk, but I don't know how chalky he's going to be. And he's 7,700. I know he's against Gobert, but Christ.
People will play.
What's that?
People are going to play him.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to McCollum and Anthony. And on Utah, my original play from this game going into, before I looked at any being out or anything like that, is I actually really like continuing to play Conley.
Yeah, why is no one playing him?
Yeah, he I know it's different, but if he had been the starting point guard all season for any team, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He'd be like 7,000.
Yeah,
He used to be that, and he's had struggles to get back from injury or whatever, and he's been basically had two really good games in a row, I think, and he's just going to be on the court as starting point guard for 30 plus minutes at only 5,400. You know what I mean? Like it just it's not like he's terrible. He's a good player. So he was my first play. He's not projecting to be as great as some of these other guys, but he's my favorite. If you want to know the truth, my safest, if it makes any sense. And then there's Gobert, and oh my God, another 7,700.
Yeah, I would rather play Gobert personally than Whiteside.
Over the 8 centers we want to play?
No, over Whiteside on a back-to-back at the same price.
Oh, okay. So, and this is a tough back-to-back for him. Is a tough one.
Going into Utah too, there is blowout risk in any time that a team is on his back-to-back and going to Utah.
Yeah, And Mitchell, I'm kind of content fading. If you want to know the truth? I mean, he looks pretty good in projections, by the way, but I don't think I'm going to play Conley and Mitchell. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to take a stand on one of them, and I don't know. I think that I kind of like Conley here in the spot. That's the best I can say. No one's going to have him like at all. So
Yeah.
I'll probably play some again, only because I'm playing multi-entry. I am going to probably get some of Mitchell, but I'm not going to play Mitchell and Conley together.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at in this game.
Yeah, I've got Mitchell in as a Diener.
What does that mean?
But like 10%.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm really going to like even have that much of him, to be honest with you, by the time the day's done. I like this matchup for everybody. On other slates, I might be a little bit more inclined. And certainly I'm going to run out a Conley, Gobert, Lillard lineup.
Okay.
That just makes enough sense to me. And I'm telling you right now, like I know he had the one down game. This is way too cheap for Carmelo. It's as bad as the matchup is against Utah. I want to point out a couple things. This defense is not the same thing it was for a lot of reasons. One, they play faster offensively. Two, Mike Conley doesn't move laterally very quickly anymore, even though he's a good fundamental defender. So that hurts their defense too. Joe Ingles is old. Jordan Clarkson doesn't play defense off the bench. Royce O'Neal is an excellent defender. Rudy Gobert is an excellent defender. Everybody else, Bogdanovich is not a good defender. Bojan. So this is a team that we got to stop worrying about. Like, you're going to make money because no one plays anybody against Utah. And I think that playing a guy like Anthony tonight is pretty savvy. Like 5.1, man, this is it. Just look, if it wasn't a back-to-back, I would be so on this play. And, Anthony, I'm trying to look back if he's even played he's played a actually played 32 minutes in the back-to-back. All right, well, that's kind of encouraging. A couple back-to-backs. So I like Carmelo and I like Lillard. I would rather play Lillard tonight. I will have more Lillard in my lineups probably than I will Harden. At least at the moment, that's my plan. These numbers will tell you not to play Lillard, and I'm just going to tell you whenever that happens, you should be playing Damian Lillard. And we know what happens against Utah. They give up the biggest fantasy points per game, biggest fantasy games every single year. Lillard just scored 79 against this team, by the way, the other day. And he scored 50, I think, 50-something real life points. I don't really know what the argument would be to not take a shot on Lillard here. This is the spot where they're going to need him. So Lillard and Carmelo are my guys on that side. And then on Utah, I'm with you on the Conley thing. We've talked about Gobert, but just not overwhelmingly interested in this game as a whole, but I definitely want some exposure to that Lillard, Gobert, Conley, maybe even a Mitchell, something like that. I think that little, as a late night hammer, that's a really good way to go. And also, with all this breaking news and lineups not getting announced till after lock because, different guys starting and all the trades that happen, there is some value in playing the later games. So trying to have more guys in this game, in the Phoenix-Houston game, does make a little bit of sense to me. But I just from an overall perspective, I really like some of these early games, so it's kind of hard for me just to avoid.
Yeah. So this was a long one, but I think it was it was unfortunately necessary. There's a lot of plays today, and again, not to cop out, but ownership is really just going to end up driving how I prioritize these guys. So here's the way we talk a little bit more about MME stuff. So it's strange. Like when I was first thinking about DFS, and this is the way my logic would work, and I guess it's wrong. Like, so let's say I like a guy that's going to be, 5% owned. Let's say there are two guys. One guy that's going to be 5%. Let's take Ayton versus Whiteside maybe. Whiteside's going to be owned pretty similar. I mean, let's say Whiteside's 25% maybe, and let's say
around
20. Let's say Ayton's 5 or something like that. Okay. So on the one hand, I would say, you know what? If Ayton is if I think they're equal plays, and I think Ayton is going to be 5% versus 25, my first logic when I started doing DFS is, well, why play any of Whiteside? You know what I mean? I'll just play all of freaking all of Ayton because he's 5 times better, because I have 5 times leverage over him. Why play any? Mm-hmm. But then other people say, well, why do you need, if the guy's going to be 5%, why do you need 100% of them? You know what I mean? Like, if you take 15 or 20, at least you're, quote unquote, ahead of the field.
Right.
So I I just haven't figured all this out yet. You know what I mean? And I guess, you know, when I figure it out, then I will, you know, take it over DFS. But I still wouldn't know what to do in situations like that. When I like a 2% or 5% guy and I'm going to play, look, if I was going to play 5 lineups, I have no problem playing in all of them. If I'm going to play one lineup, I have no problem playing one of them. But if I'm going to play like 50 lineups, for example, how many do I need to play? You know what I mean? Like it's really, really interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It's definitely an interesting, it's hard to know which way to go on that one because I like spreading out a little bit, but trying to keep a tighter core. Like, but I don't think either of those guys are quite in my core tonight. Like my core is very simple. As of right now, it's going to change obviously as I find more and more out about the day. But you got the Oladipo, then the Cantor, Dragic, Nunn business, which I know is going to be a lot of people, but I really like all those plays.
Do you think Oladipo's going to be that popular?
Some of the other guys are out in Miami. No, I don't think Oladipo's going to be that popular.
Okay.
Sorry, the other guys are popular. Sorry, Nunn and Dragic. But I love Nunn, Dragic, and Cantor. But I also love Oladipo, Porzingis. Those guys I have in similar ranges, but I do have Oladipo as my highest owned player right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up that way, but that's where I'm at. And then just beneath him, I think Pascal Siakam is a great play. Just beneath him, I think Devin Booker, maybe even right on the same par as him now that I think about it. Tobias Harris, Marcus Smart, Joel Embiid, DeAndre Ayton are my next range. And then you get into the Lillards and the Ruiz and the Rubios and Hardaway, Melton, Gordon, Ibaka, Tatum, more in the 20 to 25% range for those guys. While some of the first guys I mentioned will be more closer to 50. So agreed, long show. This is I think if you want to learn about like GPPs and stuff like that, I think this is probably a good show to watch. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you want to give us your thoughts, I know you're going to tell us it's really long, but I really think it was valuable and it's a tricky slate. So Sheets, give us
you know what I think is a good idea to do, what I'm going to do? You know what I think is an interesting idea? Is I think what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to play a couple of stacks with the Dallas-Washington game, just because it's 7 o'clock and I can get a sense of what's going on. You know what I mean? Like if I can, you know, if I play a couple of stacks of Dallas-Washington, that game starts to just really just explode and go off, then I have flexibility in these later games where I could, you know, where I could change around or do whatever. And I do like the Dallas-Washington game. So I think that's a good way, you know, just on DraftKings, obviously.
Yeah, if you're playing Dallas-Washington, I suggest on those lineups, especially if you're stacking, to try and play as many guys from the Phoenix, Houston, and Portland, Utah, and Miami situation.
Yeah, exactly, because you can be flexible and swap around.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, look, even, you know, we talked about a lot of good plays, and there are still a lot of guys who I don't have any ownership of that I actually think are solid because there's a lot of good plays in the slate. I'm just going to say my bold call of the day is to fade James Harden, and he will end up in a lineup or two because I'm playing enough Phoenix where I need to kind of play him. But I think I can live without even 70 from James Harden. It's when he gets to 80 that it'll make me nervous at 12K. That's the truth. I honestly don't feel worried until he gets there. So I'm going to challenge him to get 65 or 60, and I'm going to go about my merry way and play my different lineups differently.
Yeah.
Final thought sheets before we get out?
I don't really have a bold one tonight. I really don't. Yeah, okay. I'll say that that the low owned 10x guy that can win the slate is Mike Conley. All
right, I love it. I love Mike Conley today, so I'm very into that call. Sheets, good doing the show with you guys. We will have another thing for you soon. I'll probably be doing a live stream around 6 Eastern. Maybe Sheets will join me. Maybe he won't. It's always a surprise fest, so we'll see. But until then, we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. And this time, I actually mean it.
Sounds good.